Hi guys, welcome to a watercolour review. So today I'm going to be reviewing this 30 set of Holbein watercolours. So I bought these while I was out in Japan in November last year, and I was really excited to get hold of them. So today I'm going to be setting up a Holbein palette, and I'm going to be doing that with this, I think it's a 28 well palette that I bought from Jackson's. It was about £5, pretty cheap. You can see it opens up two-sided. There's a little hole as well for your thumb should you want that. So yeah, let's go ahead. I'm going to start filling these up. So while I fill up the palette, let's talk about the price, the thing that really matters. So these cost me 6,200 yen, excluding the 10% consumption tax. So you don't have to pay that. If you're a foreigner and you're taking them out of the country, you can have the tax exemption. So that was about £45 at the time, so really cheap paints. So on Jackson's these are £119, so I saved about £75 on these paints, so I'm really pleased about. And they cost about £1.50 per tube, which is insanely cheap for artist grade watercolour paints. I definitely will be buying more, but not in the UK because they're so expensive, which is to be expected because they've had to have the shipping on top, they've had the additional taxes coming into the UK, leaving Japan, etc. So that's fair enough. So if we just take an example, in Japan they're about 300 yen per tube, which works out about £2, really cheap. But if I were to buy, say, the lemon yellow from Jackson's, that's £5.60, and that's 5mm tube. But I could just buy the Snelia yellow, lemon yellow, for £5.20, which I probably would do instead because it's a 10mm tube, so you get twice as much for essentially the same price. Other than that, I thought they were really good quality, especially for the price I paid out in Japan. For artist grade paints, to get them as cheap as they are, it's pretty incredible. Okay, so I've finished filling up my palette, just putting the white in there. And now let's get on to swatching them. So I have decided to swatch these on some hot pressed Arches watercolour paper, and I use this really cool stamp to swatch out my paints. It's a waffle flower stamp. I think it's an American stamp, but I just got some waterproof ink and I've used that, stamped it on some paper. It works really well. Okay, so let's have a more detailed look at these paints. Okay, so the first paint that I'm swatching out is their Crimson Lake. So this is W010. So this is, I think, it's a fairly staining colour. It's really beautiful, very pinky red. It's essentially alizarin crimson. It's got a light fastness rating of 3 stars. So Holbein has a 4 to 1 star, 4 being the best. Obviously 1 being the lowest. This is 3 stars, so that's pretty good. It's made up of PR177 and 122 and PV19, so it's quite a nice little pinky colour. I really like this one. It's very beautiful and it's not granulating. So the second colour is Rose Madder. So again, this is a more pinky kind of cool red, which should make some nice violets when you mix it. And the colour name, or the colour code, is W012. It's fairly staining as well. It's got a light fastness of 2 stars, and it's not granulating, and it seems to be fully transparent from my swatches. And the pigment is PR83. So this is a single pigment, unlike the other one. A lot of these Holbein paints are multi-pigment colours, which might be a problem for some of you out there. For me, it's not really a problem. As long as the colours are beautiful, I don't really mind. Okay. So the next one is Vermilion Hue. So this is W019. This is more of an orangey colour, but I'm going to class it in terms of reds because I would say it's more of a red than a yellow. It's very beautiful. It's a hue, so that means it's not made with the original vermilion pigments. And the pigments in this are P073, PR254 and PY110. It's got a light fastness of 3 stars, and I think it's a very gorgeous, cool red. So again, this is another multi-pigment colour, but it is a hue, so that doesn't surprise me really. Yeah, so it's really gorgeous. So let's move on to the next colour. This is the first of the yellows. So this is Permanent Yellow Deep, and it's W037, that's the code. And this is made from PY74 and 83, so another double pigment colour. Got a light fastness of 2 stars, and I would say it's fairly staining. transparent, I think, and non-granulating. Gorgeous colour. I really like it. Very bright, very vivid. I just think it's a gorgeous colour. Another double pigment colour. Okay, so let's move on to the next yellow, which is Aurelian. So the original pigment for Aurelian it does grey out over time, so this is like a hue, so it's made of lots of different pigments as well. So it's PY 154, 175 and 150. It's gorgeous. It's like a lemon yellow kind of colour. It's kind of maybe more of a primary yellow. The code for it is W039. So this is transparent, and I'll say again it's slightly staining, but a light fastness of 3, so that's very good. But I really like this colour, and I'm just comparing it there to the Permanent Yellow Deep. It doesn't really show up very well, so yep. Let's go on to the next colour, which is Lemon Yellow. This is W033, and it's transparent, non-staining, and it's got a light fastness of 2, and it's made from PY3 and PW6. Now I find this really strange that it does include white, because, you know, for example, Snellier's Lemon Yellow is just PY3. That is the colour, that's the pigment for Lemon Yellow. I think this might be because that white tends to cool things down, so they might have added it to make it a more cool yellow, but I'm not really sure, but it's a nice colour anyway. Okay, so the next colour is Jawn Brilliant 2, I think it's called, W032. It's transparent, kind of semi-transparent, can kind of see the residue there. Non-staining, light fastness of 3, and it's made of 3 pigments, PR108, PO20 and PW6. Another one with the white. There's a lot of those actually in the set. It's a nice colour. I don't think I'd use it because it's kind of opaque. It's not really one of the colours I use. I don't really like those kind of pastel type colours, but it's nice, it's pigmented, and it's light fast. Next pigment is the yellow ochre, which is a W034. That's the code. It's a little bit staining, but an excellent light fastness. It's got 4 stars, and it's made from a single pigment, which is PY42. This is a really nice yellow ochre. They can be quite opaque, but this one is not. It's very beautiful. It paints really well on the paper. I really like it. So some of the interesting things about this set is there aren't many yellows. So I've not included this yellow ochre in the yellows because it's more of an earth tone, I think. But there's only 3 yellows and 3 reds in the set, but there's quite a lot of blues and greens. So let's start looking at those greens. So this is the olive green, which is W074. It's semi-staining, light fastness of 3 stars, and I would say that it's transparent. And it's made from pigments PY150, PG7 and PBR25, sorry. I really like this colour, nice and earthy. I tend to paint botanicals, so I think in this set there are 8 greens. I suppose it depends what you define green as, that's subjective, but I would say there's 8 greens. I don't think I need that many greens in a set. I wish they'd swap 2 greens for another red and another yellow, but I can't change that. But still, it's a beautiful colour. And let's look at the next green. So the next green is Cobalt Green, and this is I would say it's semi-transparent, a little bit staining, and it's got a light fastness of 3. And it looks very blue on the camera, but I can assure you it's more like a turquoisey, more green. And it's made from PG18, PB28 and PW6. So this is another one of those made with the white, which I do find really odd because I suppose you don't really use white in watercolour, you just use the white of the paper, but oh well. And the code for this one is W063. A bit overexposed there. The next one is Emerald Green Nova, which is W064. Light fastness of 2, semi-transparent. And I would say semi-staining, though it's pretty much does all come up when you try to remove it. So again, on the camera this looks very, very blue, but it is a emerald colour. It's like a viridian kind of colour. I really like this colour. I'd put this in my palette. It's made from pigments PY3, PG7 and PW6. Again, it's got that white in it, which I find odd, but it's very beautiful. Light fastness of 2 stars here. And by the way, I have scanned all of these swatches into my computer, so they'll be available through a link below because I've got a blog, so you can have a look at them there. The next paint is Permanent Green 1, which is W066. I would say it's semi-transparent, semi-staining, and it's got a light fastness of 2. And it's made with pigments PY3, PY53 and PG7. It's very bright kind of spring green. Again, it looks quite dull on the swatch here, but if you take a look down in the description and you go onto my blog, which has a bit more of a review, you know, a more in-depth review of these paints, you can see the swatches I've made there. So yeah, that's Permanent Green 1. So next is Permanent Green 2, just a bit of a deeper colour. It's W067. I would say it's semi-transparent, semi-staining. It's got a light fastness rating of 2 stars. So it's made of PY74, PY53 and PG7. This is a nice colour. I don't think I'd add it to my palette. I prefer mix my own greens. As I said, I paint botanicals usually. So I would prefer there to be, you know, another blue, not another blue, another yellow, or another 2 yellows, so I can mix a wider range of greens, but it is what it is. Next one is the sap green. It's actually quite a nice green, even though I prefer mixing my own. This one is beautiful. This is W075. Sap green. I would say it's transparent, semi-staining. Light fastness of 3 stars, so pretty good light fastness rating. Made from pigments PY150, PG7 and PR122, so there's a bit of red in there, which makes sense. It's quite a dull colour. I really like it. It's a non-granulating colour as well. Most of the Holbein colours are non-granulating. They do have a reputation for that. So even their ultramarine blue, which I'll show you later, doesn't really granulate that much. So if you like non-granulating paints, these might be the paints for you. So moving on to the next colour, I think is called Terra Vert. Sorry about my pronunciation. And the colour code is W065, and I would say it's semi-transparent, semi-staining and a light fastness rating of 4 stars. The pigment numbers are PG23 and PG17, so just 2 colours here. As you can see, there are a lot of multi-pigment colours in this set, and just in the Holbein range in general, really. It's a very nice earthy colour. Definitely will be using this in the future. I really like this one. Next is Viridian Hue. So it's a hue, which means it's not the original pigment. Any of you out there that are interested in pigments, the Viridian pigment is actually very hard to re-wet, no matter, you know, which brand makes it. It is just so like quite a hard pigment, quite hard to paint with if it's not already wet in the tube and you're just painting with it from a pan. So this is much nicer because it's just made of 1 single pigment as well, which is PG7. It's very staining. I think this is a phthalo colour. Light fastness rating of 3 stars, and it looks very blue on the screen again, but it is much more green in real life. I really like this one. I'll be adding this one to my palette. Next we've got the Compose Blue, which is a lovely, it's like a cerulean colour, very sky blue, and it's W096, their code. So this is, I say it's semi-transparent, semi-staining, light fastness of 2, which is pretty good. And it's made with PB15 and PW6. Again, it's one of those weird ones with the white in it, but there doesn't seem to be that much white, and it's not really, the ones with white in, it's not really a problem because you can't really tell that there's white in it. So they must only use a tiny bit, but you can tell because it is not fully transparent, but really beautiful colour. Next is the Cerulean Blue. So it's very similar to the previous colour. I'd say it's non-granulating, it's transparent, I would say. It's kind of staining, semi-staining I've put, but you know, it's kind of up to your own discretion to decide. Light fastness of 4 stars, that's excellent, and it's a single pigment of PB35, and the colour code on this one, if you want to know, is W092. I really like this colour. I mean, it's cerulean blue. It's not very pigmented. Maybe I just didn't pick up that much pigment when I painted with it, but I prefer cerulean blues in other brands such as M. Graham. Okay, so this next one is a cobalt blue hue, so it's not made with cobalt, it's because it's a hue. And the colour code is W091. This is a staining colour, definitely stains. And a light fastness of 3, which is pretty good. It's made from PB29, which is actually ultramarine blue, and PB15. Not sure which one PB15 is, to be honest, but either way, it's a beautiful colour. It's a good alternative, I suppose, if you don't want to use the heavy metal cobalt blue. So moving on, we've got the ultramarine blue deep. I really like this one. This is a very deep ultramarine, and it's non-staining. It's pretty cool how non-staining it is. I would say it's semi-granulating, but as we know, ultramarine is a granulating colour anyway. And I would say it's semi-transparent, but it's pretty much transparent. I think I just used a lot of paint. So this colour code is W094, and it's just made with one single pigment, PB29. I would be disappointed if this was a multi-pigment colour, because that would just be really odd. But it's really beautiful. A highlight fastness of 3 stars. Yeah, it's just a gorgeous colour. It's a good alternative if you don't want a granulating ultramarine blue. So next we've got Prussian blue, which is colour code W097. I would say it's a staining colour and light fastness of 2. I would say fully transparent as well. PB27 is the pigment it's made from. I really like this colour. Prussian blues, I do believe, have a reputation for being fairly fugitive, or more on the fugitive side, but it's a gorgeous colour and I definitely use this one in the future. There you go. Right, next one is mineral violet. This colour code is W112. I would say, I can't tell whether it's granulating, it might be a little bit granulating, but again, Holbein colours aren't really granulating anyway. I would say this is a semi-staining colour. It's definitely some colour left behind when I tried to remove it. And it has a light fastness rating of 3 stars, which is pretty good. But it is made from 3 pigments, PB29, so ultramarine, PR122 and PBR25. But I really like this, quite a muted violet to be good for, you know, night skies or snowy scenes when you want to add a bit of depth and darkness. And I think I'll be using this one in the future. So the next one is Cobalt Violet Light, and I think this is the colour I like least, well, maybe penultimate least of the set. So this is W110. I don't really like cobalt violet colours or cobalt colours in general because I just think they're a bit weak. This one is granulating, I would say, semi-transparent and probably non-staining, and it has an excellent light fastness of 4 stars. It's made from a single pigment, PV47, but I'm really not keen on this colour. I won't be using this colour unless I really have to. So, I don't know, it might grow on me, but I don't really like it. It's not my kind of thing. Okay, so let's move on to the next one, which is Opera. I don't like opera colours. I think they're too bright. They don't look right in watercolour, but that, again, that's just my personal opinion. And this one, it looks like a Quin Rose on this, but it's much brighter. Even the scans I've got on my blog don't really do it justice on how bright it is. It's like a highlighter pink. It's very pink. It's not great for watercolour paintings because it's so fugitive. And the colour number is W013, and it's transparent, I would say semi-staining, 1 light fastness. It's made with BV10 and PR122. Okay, so next we're moving on to Burnt Sienna. So this is W134. I would say it's semi-staining, light fastness of 4, it's the highest rating, and it's made with PBR7, standard colour for Burnt Sienna. It's a beautiful colour. It's a lovely reddish neutral colour, and I'll definitely be using this. Okay, and then we'll move on to the next one, which is Burnt Umber, which is W133. This is semi-staining, fully transparent, excellent light fastness rating of 4 stars, and it's made with the same pigment actually, PBR7. So that happens actually a lot with quite a few colours, where you'll get, depending on how much you add and, you know, your binders and things, it'll change the chemistry and how the light reacts with the pigment or the chemical. So this is the same pigment, but you get two slightly different colours out of it, as you can see. That is my comparison. One's a bit more red, but beautiful colour, and I'll be using it in the future. So next one is Sepia. It's W136, kind of like a black, a very neutral tone. I would say it's transparent, though it's hard to tell with the darker colours. It's semi-staining, excellent light fastness of 4 stars, and it's made with pigments PBR7 and PBK6. So the previous one for burnt umber and burnt sienna plus black pigments. It's a rather nice colour. I quite like it. Next one is called Grey of Grey, and this is a colour that I don't really like. It's W153 and it's fully transparent. It's non-staining, 3 stars of light fastness, and it's just a mixture of white and black, PBK6 and PW6. I don't know why they've included it. I think it's a waste of a paint to include. Just include the black and the white, and you can mix your own, I suppose, but it's a convenience colour. It'd be good for, you know, subtle highlights, the highlights that you don't want to be brilliant white. But I do think it's a strange colour to add. It's more like a gouache than a watercolour, but you know, just because it's in the pack doesn't mean you have to use it, and it might have its uses anyway. So next we'll move on to the black. This is W138 and it's ivory black, semi-staining, light fastness of 4, and it's PBK9. Now those of you that know your pigments will know that this is a non-vegan pigment and it's made from animal bones. It's the only paint I believe in the whole Holbein collection that is non-vegan, and it's purely just because of the pigments. So if you are a vegan and you are looking for vegan paints, this could be a deal breaker for you, I understand that. So it's up to you whether you buy it or not. I think it's a shame that they've used this colour because they clearly have the PBK6, so they could have used that instead, but it is what it is. And finally we've got the white. So this is W002, very strong white colour, and it's very, very opaque, light fastness of 4, and it's made with PW6. Now this is a very good watercolour because most white watercolours are not that useful, but this one is because it's more like a gouache. So I will be using this one. It's almost as good as the Winsor & Newton, a white gouache. So congrats to Holbein for making an actual, like a usable white in watercolour, because most of the time they're so weak. So all in all, I think these are really nice paints. They're very vibrant, they're mostly transparent, they're non-granulating, and I think they layer pretty well as well. A couple of drawbacks though. I think although I don't mind multi-pigment colours, and that's a matter of personal preference, I do think that the lemon yellow, the fact that it has the white in it is a bit strange, but I have a feeling it might be because they want to make it a little bit cooler, which is a property of white. I also think that the selection is a strange selection of colours. I think it'd be good to lose some greens and add some reds and yellows. I like mixing my own greens, so that would be a personal preference, though it's my opinion. I think they're a bit expensive. I won't be buying any more in the UK, but when I'm back in Japan I'll definitely be buying some more. So that's the end of the review. If you want to see a more in-depth review, I've got one written on my blog. The link is in the description below. And if you want to see what materials I used in this video, have a check down in the description. I'll put the links there. If you do have any questions or you want me to review something in the future, just drop a comment in the comments section below. And if you want to see more of my videos, don't forget to subscribe and press that notification button. And please like the video if you enjoyed it. Thanks.